Welcome to the Money Pig Podcast, presented by Goodwin Investment Advisory, where our mission is to lead you to financial pig, peace, independence, and generosity. I'm your host, Tim Goodwin.
Welcome back to the Money Pig Podcast. We are your hosts,
Tim Goodwin. Oh, sorry.
and Joe Beckford.
What's up?
Fantastic.
Welcome back. How's it going, Joe?
Fantastic.
That's awesome. Today's
So good.
title of our episode is What is the Point of Money If You Never Enjoy It? Which we love to talk about this. Ooh,
You mean like these?
enjoying those big dollar bills, those Benjamins.
Benjamins?
Joe, I think you should just make it rain right now on the camera. Can you do it? Make it rain?
I need your like dollar shooter.
Yeah, you got to have that dollar gun. Let's see.
No, I can't do it. I'm terrible at it. Sorry.
For those of you just only listening at home, he just threw a stack of fake $100 bills.
and it's, yeah,
And it didn't go very
fell
far.
flat. No, fell flat.
So excited to talk about this topic today. But Joe, before we do, my wife the other day, she told me to stop singing "I'm a Believer" or she'd leave me. I thought she was kidding, but then I saw her face. I'm a believer.
That's nice.
Is
That's
that
nice.
good?
That's nice. You know, a friend of mine, when I was telling him about how your dad jokes and how I have to listen to your dad jokes and stuff, and he goes, "Well, it could be worse. You could be stuck in an underground hole full of water."
Oh my.
I know he meant well.
He meant well. Oh my gosh. But I like how you put the context in the story.
I'm
Just
trying.
for
I'm
it.
trying.
Man,
I'm always about making
a pro,
connections.
It's a pro move, man. It's a pro move. Yeah. How's it going? What's going on in your life? Anything interesting?
That's really hard. You ask questions like that.
I know.
And
Just
then
like that.
we try to
Same
keep these
question every
evergreen,
time.
right? Like, do you guys listen to other podcasts besides ours? I mean, it's okay. None of them are as good as ours, but sure, it's possible. So you listen to another podcast, and they're like, "Oh, these are evergreen episodes. They always last." And then they're like, "But we're really filming in December, and you're not going to see it till February." So those are hard. So you ask me stuff, and I'm like, I tell you what's happening now, and then by the time this is released, that's like long time in the past. That happened. So I don't know. Got a big trip coming up. Going to New York this weekend.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm
that's
pretty
fantastic.
excited. By the time this airs, I'll already be back.
Yeah, that's right.
So
New York's a fun place to go.
I think so.
What are your favorite things about New York?
Pizza.
New York City. Pizza. God, come on. The food scene.
The food
Incredible.
scene. Yeah, the food scene. I like being able to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Not having to get in a car because driving in New York's kind of nerve-wracking, right?
And
I
super
like
expensive.
Get your steps in, the food scene, and I like shows. We like to do shows.
What's the show that you said y'all were going to see?
Wicked.
Wicked. Yeah.
Never saw
man.
Wicked.
Come on. Do y'all usually like make it a stop, an intentional stop at Central Park?
Oh, not always.
Not always,
But
yeah.
sometimes.
I saw when it
Sometimes,
snowed
yes.
there over the winter that Shaun White ended up doing some
that
jump
would've
or
been
something.
amazing.
And they're like, "Oh, Shaun White," and it was him. Who knows? It could have been AI on my Instagram reel, but I thought that was pretty cool if that was really him. So
Yeah. Could have
yeah,
been.
very cool. Well, I hope you guys have a blast in
Thanks.
New York. So let's jump into what's the point of money if you never enjoy it, which is I don't know. What is the point of it if you
I
never
give up.
enjoy it? Yeah. So Joe, let's just kind of unpack that a little bit. Why do so many successful people struggle to enjoy their money even when they can afford to, even when they've got a bunch? What's the deal?
So what I've seen is a lot of people, most of the people who have money by that time, they are hard workers.
Right.
They're smart workers. They live below their means. And the reason they have a lot of money now is because they've done that their whole lives, right? So they know work, save, work, save, work, save, work, save, work, save. And it's this, and their identity becomes, I'm a worker, I'm a saver, I'm successful. That formula works. That's gotten me a lot of money. Now I'm asking them potentially, like when we talk about how do we get you to retire? One thing that a lot of people struggle with is I'm asking you to change your normal MO from working and saving to not working and spending. And that's like, wait, you're asking me to learn like Chinese today.
I'm
Like,
supposed to
what?
spend
What does
this
that
money?
even-
I've only been saving.
What does that even mean? It's
Right.
like it doesn't compute. So it's like they haven't eased into it, and so it's if they're not used to that and they've lived frugally, always like it doesn't compute.
Well, and I think too, I mean, you're always hearing about this concept between having a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're looking at money, it is finite. It's easy to have scarcity. I think that's an issue. Not knowing if you have enough. You know, you just don't know. You know, how much is enough, Joe?
A little bit more.
Just a little bit
Just
more,
a little
right?
bit
Just
more.
a little bit more. So it's always like, do I have enough? Do I have enough? There's certainly that uncertainty about the future.
Sure.
Okay. And I don't know if folks are just waiting for there to be no uncertainty. That's not coming.
Ever.
Right.
Right,
So
not-
there is always a level of uncertainty. Obviously, it gets elevated at different times depending on what's going on in the world. So I think, you know, hey, I don't know what the future holds, so I just need more, right? Also, how you were raised.
Well,
I think
100%.
could greatly impact that, right?
Sure, your frame of reference. You know, one of the questions that's really common when we're starting a new relationship with somebody is like, you know, tell me about your relationship with money. What does that look like? What was that like when you were a kid? What was money something that was freely talked about, or we didn't talk about it? Was it seen as like were we envious of wealthy people, or did we ascribe to be wealthy people? You know, and that that frame of reference is really strong in people.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really have a whole lot of clients anymore that are like, I was raised in the Great Depression. But we have plenty of clients whose parents were.
Oh, 100, yeah,
Right?
for sure.
And there was a level of scarcity that happened during the 20s, like we really haven't seen since. And that really shapes how somebody's going to want to like hoard onto that money and make sure that they can survive and that they have enough for them and their family. You know, the biggest crash more recently was 2008. Right. So if you were in any type of the impact of that could have a lot to do with the irregular income. Maybe your parents weren't raised in the Great Depression, but maybe they were really scared, you know, gave you a scarcity mindset growing up, you know, and like you said, yeah, there's two different kinds of people. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer because the rich figure out habits of building wealth and not spending everything and saving and letting it compound over decades. And the poor don't. And so the ones that they're just like, oh, all rich people are bad. And they're never going to be rich. They all got it, you know, the bad way, you know, or they took advantage of somebody to get there. Like they're not going to win with that mindset. Right. So I think that's a lot of it too. And like you said, the MO of just, you know, this is what I've always done. I'll relax when ... Yeah. When what? What? When? Hopefully not when you die.
I don't know because, you know, you know, I'm a big proponent of none of us know what the future holds and none of us are promised tomorrow. And I say that a lot, and my clients are probably tired of hearing that, but I encourage people like, you are not promised tomorrow, you know, and we've talked on this podcast before about working in a job you hate. What does that look like? Even though you might be successful, like maybe you need to stop doing that. That whole mindset of, oh, I'll do it when I ... retire is what I hear a lot of times. Oh, if I can just do these 3 more grueling years or 5 more grueling years. And when I hear that word grueling, I'm like, ooh, that's horrible. Because how do you even know how long you're going to live? None of us know how long something's going to last. So to your point, we don't want to be ridiculous about spending, but there's always a now that should be taken care of. I feel like.
Absolutely. I think one of the other things that prevent people from using or spending their money is this comparison trap. We've talked about that on previous episodes.
Yeah.
But just, well, I don't have as much money as so-and-so. I don't have as big a house as so-and-so. I haven't worked as long as so-and-so. I haven't climbed the corporate ladder. I don't have as big of a team. I'm not responsible for as much revenue. But there's always going to be somebody with more responsibility, you know, and with more wealth and whatever that you're comparing to, there's always going to be somebody with more. And eventually you do have to stop. You know, one of my mentors, Dale Alexander, he says, stop moving the goalpost. You know, with that whole, like, what's enough? Just a little bit more, like, stop moving the goalpost. I mean, there are times where we are helping people retire that maybe only have $1 million in investable assets or 2 million or less. You start looking at things like every plan depends, right?
Sure.
Because you've got Social Security and pensions, and maybe you have rental income, or maybe your expenses are low. It always really depends on the metrics of that person. But often the client that's been diligently saving for decades in their 50s or 60s can make retirement work. Right.
Generally, yeah. Usually when people come in and the question is, can I retire? The answer is almost always yes.
Isn't that interesting?
It's almost always yes. And then we get to, And it depends on what that retirement wants to look like.
Yeah.
You know, if you're somebody like, I want to take 5
Private
big
jets.
international trips a year, I'm like, well, your plan is not going to sustain that. But more likely, I see people where like, they're like, yeah, I don't need to take all those trips. I'm like, yeah, but you could. You could. You've got the money there.
Right.
That's usually more what I see.
That's part of us trying to help our clients enjoy their money too. Before we get to that, what are the signs that I'm saving too much? If you're looking at somebody or a client, like how do you know that you're saving too much? Not enjoying that money.
I think we talked about this on previous episodes too. You're starting to feel burnout. You're starting to feel fatigue. And that's probably because you're not taking enough time off. You're not taking enough vacations. You're not taking enough respite. You're not taking some time to yourself that might even cost you a little bit of money, might cost you to go on a nice trip or to a retreat camp or something like that. That's going to help. You find that one of the big things that we like, Sandy Stanley that says, right, you choose to cheat.
Yeah.
You got to cheat somewhere.
It's funny you say that because this
that?
is over here. This is the newer title right here. Ta-da! I swear we didn't plan to do this.
We
y'all,
did
but the
not
book
plan to
is
do this, actually.
When Work and Family Collide. That's the newer version of Choosing to Cheat.
Yeah.
Keeping your job from cheating your family. It's a good book, actually.
So the idea is there are a finite number of hours in a day, and you're going to cheat somewhere.
Right.
Right. So something is going to win in there. Everything is competing for our time, and it's we're constricted by. I always also tell clients like you got a triangle of triple constraints, right? You got time, you got health, and you got money. And we'll talk about this in a minute, like
right?
The whole go thing, but,
right?
But there's always a constraint. So there's always something that's competing for your time. So you're going to have to cheat something. You're going to cheat your sleep. You're going to cheat your work. You're going to cheat your family. You're going to cheat your health. And you just have to be wise about where am I going to make that compromise? Where am I going to say, I can't do it all. I'd love to sleep 10 hours a day, but I can't. Maybe I should sleep 8 and do something else. Or I'd love to work 10 hours a day, but I have a family and their demands and I can't. So I'm going to work 8 instead or something like that. So you have to decide. So when you find that you're cheating in the healthy spots of your life, I think that's another signal that,
I think it's great. I think it just like you said, it's just as easy as like, if you're not taking any vacations, why not enjoy that money? If you're always choosing the cheapest option. Now, I admit when I was getting out of debt, I was always choosing the cheapest option.
Sure.
And I was in that mode, like you were talking about. I was in that MO. So, going on to Travelocity.com, if we had to fly somewhere, just getting the absolute cheapest flight, didn't matter airline, didn't matter seat class. But, now I'm like, I think we can afford Delta coming out of Atlanta. I think we can afford Comfort Plus, get to board a little sooner and have a little more, certainty on baggage space and not be the last one to get on the plane sitting in the way back. I still put my kids in the way back, by the way, but
that's okay.
Maureen and I might be in Comfort Plus, right? Yeah, and when you have anxiety and spending, I have to admit I still have that sometimes, especially for larger ticket items.
Sure.
It's just like, whew, never spent that kind of money before.
It's not how you were raised.
That's not how I was raised. That's not the cheapest option, and I could save that and it could compound for decades. But again, back to that memory dividend. And then I think this is another one too. What are the signs I'm saving too much? When relationships get the leftovers. So this reminds me of a saying I like, which is that I challenge myself with, which is bring home the best, not the rest. As far as like to my family, like, I just had a long day. I had a rough day and I'm just going to sit on the couch and drink a beer and watch TV. You know what I mean? Like that. I'm excited. I might have to kind of sit in the car in the driveway when I get home and get myself psyched up, but like, bring home that best. But if you're just so burnt out from working so hard to make so much money, that you're not really great to be around at home.
Bad situation.
Might be a clue that maybe you're saving too much and maybe working too hard. So, and then just that constant like, I'll retire in 5 years or just one more year. Like you're always setting that goal ahead and never letting it actually get to. There are a lot of our clients that do that. Like we'll set a retirement date with them.
For sure.
And then they just blow past it. They've got more money than they said they needed to retire. They're older than they said they need to be when they retire. We're like, come on, what's the deal?
And what do we say? or at least what I say. I always say, right, well, here's one of my prodigious failures of retirement. Like, I failed at retirement 3 times. It's like, you've had 3 jobs since you told me you were going to retire.
We do. We love our clients,
wait a minute,
and they are great at failing retirement. Because they didn't do, Tara's sitting on the other side of the screen, they didn't do, I like what Tara has coined, which is you've really got to define what you're retiring to.
100%.
Not just what you're retiring from. You know you're trying to get out of this job that maybe you don't love anymore, or you've got enough money, or you're old enough, so you're leaving, you're retiring from that. But you really got to define what you're retiring to, and that has to be exciting. You know, the future is, you only really want to go there if it sounds easy, lucrative, and fun, if it sounds exciting. You know, you've got to define what retiring is going to do for you that you're going to enjoy more than you do now. Tara's got a really great way to spend some intentional time, like as a workshop, to think through how do I actually be very intentional and intentionally design my retirement, retirement by design. So I think that can be very helpful. I think people are great at retiring from something. They have clearly defined an exciting life after that, and so they fail retirement and they go back to work.
Yep. And I touched on that a minute ago, that triple constraint sort of thing. And
tell me about that.
A lot of times when people are, kind of what I've noticed, we have a lot of people who are either really close to retirement, or they're contemplating retirement, or they have just retired, right? And that's kind of a spot where I tell people, like, you are generally never going to be younger, healthier, or have more money than you do right now.
Than you are right now. Yeah.
Right? So, and that tends to translate into what we call the go-go years. Mm-hmm. So, like, okay, if you're newly retired, or at least semi-retired, you probably have more time than you've had before. You have probably amassed more money in your lifetime than you've ever had at a different point in your life. To your point, when you're young and you're going on vacations and you're scrapping a couple nickels together to do the cheapest vacation possible, but you took the vacation, you had the respite, you unplugged, right? So you can do a little bit better when you do that, or maybe you can take more of them. And if we're going to go hike around Europe, we're going to go visit all the castles, we're going to go through the cathedrals, and we're going to do all the steps,
or the casinos if they're there,
or the casinos. You start looking at, like, well, what is my health going to allow me to do?
Right.
And the reality is, we're
a lot of steps over there.
Yeah, and so it's probably going to be harder for you in your 80s than it is when you're in your early 60s. And so let's talk about going.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, how do we figure that out? We actually.
For me, I'm like, eventually I'll be able to go on a ski trip for 10 days. But, like, what if I wait until I'm in my 80s? My dad's in his 70s and he could probably pull it off. But, like, if I wait till my 80s, like, I don't really have the body to be able to ski for 10 days in a row.
Nope,
right?
I've got the money and the time, but my knees go, no, you don't.
No way.
No, you don't. Right. So a lot of times, how do we deal with that? We'll take the spending plan and we'll say, you're going to spend more in your go-go years.
Yes.
You're just gonna. And so we'll build in a separate travel budget, a separate fun budget, entertainment budget, whatever you call it, that will taper off. Because one thing that we've seen, typically in people's 80s, they tend to slow down, right? You got the go-go, the go slow, and then the no-go.
And I'm gonna take a pause right here. Let's say you're listening, and we're not your financial advisor, and you have a financial advisor, or maybe you have run a financial plan. You're doing yourself a disservice to say, this is my distribution rate once I retire, and that rate will just grow by inflation until I die. That is by default what most retirement planners do, okay? But the reality is, what Joe's talking about is that when you first retire, and hopefully you've got that health, okay? Not everybody does, but if you've got the health, and now you've got the time, and you've got the money, those are the go-go years, as you're talking about, that's when you're going to be spending more. So you are going to be withdrawing a considerable amount, but it actually goes down after that. What we see with our retirees is that go-go years goes to go slow, and they're spending less. They're not traveling as much or as extreme or as long or as fancy. And then there's the no-go years where you just want comfort. You want that single floor ranch, and you are just not leaving a whole lot. And so you really spend less over time, even less than where inflation adjusts for that. So that is something we take into account, which is Joe was explaining right here, is that we build in like the fun bucket category,
yes, exactly,
and the travel category. And so we add that to your normal, okay, you've got to cover these expenses consistently for your life. But as far as what you can do for travel, that's only there for a certain period of time, not the entire lifespan of the plan.
It's funny how we have to convince people to spend their money.
Tell us about that, Joe.
It is, remember? And so was that last year? No, year before last. We decided to send out that book to our whole practice, right? We sent out the Die with Zero book. That the whole,
premise of the book was spend your money.
If you've read the book, you know it doesn't literally mean die with nothing and just spend frivolously. It just means to be intentional and to live your life and enjoy your money but live every stage of your life. And the author talks about that. What you were saying, the 10-day ski trip.
Yeah.
In your 80s, he talks about that. He's like, do things in a season, right? So do the 10-day ski trip when you're in your late 50s, early 60s.
He says to do a bucket list by decade.
By decade.
So not just one big bucket list, but this is a list you want to get done by this decade, the next decade, the next decade. And I think that kind of forces these things up.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's health driven, but it's like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go on the Alaska cruise. That might not be physically really taxing. So you tend to see a lot of older people on the Alaska cruise, right? If you're going on you're going to Barcelona and you're hiking and you're going to walk through Sagrada Familia through 680 steps or 680,000 steps. It felt like might have done that once. You might not do that when you're in your late 70s. You're like, oh, let's go do that trip now. And let's, put Alaska later just as an idea. So I like that idea of timing.
Yeah. I remember I would talk to clients and we set, let's say like $20,000 a year for their travel budget. And then we'd meet a year later and they'd only spend $10,000. Like, what's going on? Why have we not spent this? Now we're going to make the travel budget $30,000 this year. You guys have got to catch up.
Because stuff costs more.
Yeah, and then I'll be like, oh well. Then they were like, oh well, we did go on such and such a trip, and I'm going to bring it back to Delta here in Atlanta here, the hub for Delta. And I'd be like, well, where did you guys fly? Oh, we flew Delta. I was, what class? Okay, because we have the millionaire next door that have been quietly building wealth for decades, right?
Sure. Yeah,
they have been buying coach their whole lives. The only time they've ever flown not coach is because the business paid for it. Okay.
Right.
Or they use miles or whatever. Sure. But yeah, I often find out that they had to admit to me that they flew coach, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you could buy the airplane. Please put your wife in first class. You can go sit in the back of the plane if you'd like, but she can sit up there in first class. Right. You guys can afford this. It's about the experience. Who knows how much longer, you guys are going to be able to do this. So I think it's very, very important to think about creating those memories, getting excited. I didn't really like the idea of traveling a whole lot before Maureen, my wife, started taking us places, and now I just love it. Now I'm like, let's go, let's do stuff. It was taking me a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it's just really great to go explore this beautiful world that God created. There's so many beautiful places to see. So, well, great. Well, I did want to share a story that one of our advisors just shared with us, which happened very recently. He actually shared this to the whole team a couple weeks ago. Yeah. He had met with a couple. Are they recent clients? Do you remember? I can't remember if they're recent clients or not.
But, we're going to protect anonymity.
So, yeah, we don't know.
They're timeless clients. Timeless. They're
lifetime clients. But they are close to age 60, not quite there yet. And they don't have the same employer, but they were both let go of their jobs around the same time.
Pretty much the same time, yeah.
Yeah, really, really, really bizarre. And so, the struggle is real. Like, we're forced, kind of into early retirement. And so they're getting on with Ray and they're asking, what do we need to do? Do we need to immediately look for new employment? It's going to be potentially, did you get a quick job? Unemployed might be lower salary. And so Ray helped them kind of model what it would look like. What if you actually took a sabbatical and just drew down your accounts for a couple months versus retiring early versus, getting back to work right away. So it was really kind of giving them those different scenarios, those different options, looking at the impact. And I remember him telling us, and he was telling the team that the meeting started in tears, but at the end of the meeting, they were leaving with a lot of confidence and saying, they actually said to Ray that hiring GIA was the best decision they ever made. Questionable. What about getting married to your wife? What about
probably bigger things than
yes,
that.
But I think in context, it was really sweet for them to share that with us. So that's really, really important. Again, just kind of having that confidence and looking at those options. The last thing that I wanted to share came from that book as well. I don't remember if he asked a question in the book, but reading the book made me think of this question that I've asked a lot of people that died with zero book. Is if you heard of somebody that died with $1 million, what would you think?
Now, usually people are like, I think I wish I was related to that person, right? That's usually what they say first, you know? But what I really challenge people to consider is, did that person retire 5 years too late? If that person had retired 5 years earlier, would they have died with closer to zero? Again, Joe's right. We are not trying to get our clients' plans to go to zero.
Right.
But $1 million is a lot of money. And what would those 5 years would have been more 5 years of the go-go years.
100%. Sure.
It could have been even more than that. I'm assuming that at the end of life, $1 million, maybe when he retired 5 years before, that wouldn't have been that much money, right? But certainly would have been able to spend a substantial amount there. So I hope that just encourages you if you're listening and you're still working because you don't think you have enough. You need to check, because why would you work years longer than you have to, Joe? I mean, and people know this, when we talk to folks that have retired, they don't ever wish that they had worked longer. They wish they had retired sooner. Yeah. People on their deathbed were like, it's not about the work. It's about the time with family that they wish they had more of. So yeah, don't waste a minute longer if you feel like you've got enough, or job's not really as exciting as it used to be, and check out that plan.
Well, it's not, and not even that, be good to yourself along the way, right? I mean, budget for it. It's take the trip, do the thing.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean, so yeah, maybe you're still in your working years and you're still 40, but take the vacations, make the memories, go do the things. Maybe you don't spend all the dollars, but you still take the time and you go do the thing, go do the thing.
Yeah.
Be good to yourself and go do the thing.
That's great. All right, Joe, as we sign off here and think about what we're grateful for, I did want to encourage you, if you're listening, if you are ready to start your retirement planning, then consider starting a conversation with us. We do not charge for intro calls. We don't charge for first meetings. So it's kind of for advice. I'd get for it. I love free stuff. So take advantage of that if that's good timing for you. What are you grateful for, Joe?
You mentioned it before, so I'm grateful to live in the Atlanta area where Delta happens to be, and
we have options.
I can fly nonstop, lots of cool places, and so I'm pretty excited and pretty blessed about that.
That is nice.
Not a plug for any particular airline.
Of course not.
That does happen to be the one I like most.
Worked for
in the past.
Yeah.
I get no more money from that.
Yeah, there's no coupon code that they can
There's
use.
There's no coupon code. I promise. I have to pay rack rate like everybody else. But yeah.
I think I'm grateful for a little bit of the backwards thinking that we have here. Right, you were talking about the Die with Zero book. Like I was actually really inspired. One of my friends used to be in family law practice, which is a nice way of saying help people get divorced. And when they would first reach out to him, he would always buy them the book, The 5 Love Languages. He would try to encourage them to make it work. And I always thought, but wait a second, you don't make any money if you buy them a book and convince them to stay together. And it's just so altruistic. And I was really inspired by that. And so I thought it was really interesting when we read that, Die with Zero book as a team, and we got the author to sign it, and we drop shipped it to 450 families and said, hey, I know this is a little weird that you're getting a book. It's got like bright yellow letters on the front. Right. You just open it up and it's just, annoyingly obvious, blaring, Die with Zero. But like, what financial advisor company is out there telling you to spend your money? They're usually, oh no, save it. You don't need that much. Let's build the wealth. But we really do have a culture of a little backwards thinking there, where we feel like, hey, you worked hard to earn this money and to save it and invest it, and it needs to work hard for you, and it needs to create memories for you sooner than later. So I'm grateful for that backwards thinking. So, all right. Thanks, audience, for listening, guys, or for watching. Notorious is so grateful as well. Sit down here with his Benjamins, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodwin Investment Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisory, CRD number 131193, and this episode is produced by Goodwin Investment. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or other investments. It should not be used as the basis for any financial decisions. The host and guests may personally hold investments mentioned in this episode. All investments involve risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results. Please consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, and attorney before taking action on any information shared.